The journey of Emily's self-love. In a small, picturesque village nestled between rolling hills lived a young woman named Emily. Emily was kind-hearted, always putting others' needs before her own, and admired by the village folk for her generosity. But beneath her soft smile, Emily struggled with an emptiness she couldn't quite understand. She had spent her entire life seeking validation from others, thinking that her worth was tied to how much she could give to those around her. The more she gave, the more she believed she would be loved in return. But this cycle left her feeling exhausted, and she rarely received the appreciation she so longed for. As she toiled away in her garden or helped her neighbors with their chores, she often found herself thinking, "Am I not enough as I am?" Yet these thoughts were quickly brushed aside as she continued her daily routine, running on the fuel of external approval. One day, Emily's dear friend, an elderly woman named Margaret, noticed her growing wariness. Margaret was known in the village for her wisdom, and over the years, she had become a confidant for Emily. Sensing something was amiss, she invited Emily for tea. As they sat by the warm fireplace, Margaret looked at her with kind yet piercing eyes and said, "My dear, you spend so much of your time loving others. But when was the last time you loved yourself?" Emily was taken aback by the question. She had never thought of love in that way before. Margaret continued, "True love, my dear, starts from within. You are deserving of all the love you give to others, and it's time you give some of it to yourself." Emily's heart sank, realizing the truth in her friend's words. She had been so focused on pleasing others that she had neglected the one person who needed her love the most: herself. That evening, Emily returned home with Margaret's words echoing in her mind. She stood before her mirror, staring at her reflection, and for the first time in years, she began to look deeper. She saw the dark circles under her eyes, the calloused hands, the weight of years of neglect etched into her features. Tears welled up as she whispered, "I'm sorry." She wasn't apologizing to anyone else, but to herself, for all the times she had overlooked her own needs, for all the times she had put others' happiness before her own. In that moment, Emily made a vow. She would embark on a journey of self-love. It wouldn't be easy, she knew, but it was necessary. She began by setting small boundaries, saying no when she needed to rest, and taking time to do things she enjoyed. Slowly, she started to appreciate herself, not for what she did for others, but for who she was, intrinsically. She found joy in the simple things like reading by the river, walking through the woods, and writing in her journal. Over the next few months, Emily's life transformed. She still cared for the people in her village, but now she did so without expecting anything in return. More importantly, she had learned to care for herself. She realized that self-love wasn't selfish, it was essential. It allowed her to be the best version of herself, not only for others, but for her own well-being. And as she grew more comfortable in her own skin, something magical happened. The people around her began to notice the change. Her inner glow radiated outward, and she became a source of inspiration. Emily no longer sought validation from others. She found it within herself. She learned that love, when given freely to oneself, creates a wellspring of strength, peace, and joy. And so the girl who once believed her worth was defined by how much she gave to others learned the most valuable lesson of all, that her worth was, and always would be, inherent.